Are we all set? Okay, great. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:03. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Is there a motion to seal the executive session minutes from tonight?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we did not take any votes in executive session. And it's now time for open forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none, we are going to cruise right along to our showcase, which I'm very excited about. Dr. Cummings, if you can do introductions, please.
Sure thing. So recently, we had Bride come and highlight our work in social emotional learning, led by Karen Festa, who you see here. And Karen has been doing an unbelievable job working with our elementary school students to really, help them learn how to self-regulate. See, I'm learning all these good things, Karen, right? So with that, I will hand it off to Karen, and she can talk a little bit about the program and the wonderful work that she has been doing.
Thank you, Dr. Cummings. Excuse my voice, singing and dancing all day kind of takes a number on you. Good evening to our Narragansett community, and thank you for the opportunity to share some of the work that we've been doing this evening. A few things that I would like to highlight are, as Dr. Cummings had mentioned, the commissioner came to visit on Social Emotional Learning Day and presented a proclamation from the governor on March 11th, declaring March 11th Social Emotional Learning Day for the entire state of Rhode Island. And I thought I would bring that for you to see. That's okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Along with that, the Department of Ed also filmed and shared a video highlighting the work at Narragansett Elementary School for social emotional learning and the importance of teaching SEL in the classroom. So without ado, I'm going to show you the video, and then I have a few more things to share.
Social emotional learning, so there's a variety of skills that Castle has put out. Self-awareness, it's really just being aware of your emotions and also getting along with others, working with people in the community, like people that you work closely with, building friendships, solving problems, collaborating with people, being aware of how you're feeling.
Everybody that you guys are doing an enormous amount of work on social emotional. We're creating a sense of community and helpfulness and kindness. So no matter what struggles a child is going through in the classroom of our school family, we are automatically going to wish them well. So we don't see them as, oh my gosh, there they go again, they're being a bad kid, they're not listening. We're going to say, they really need our help. Let's do a wish well right now. And that school family in there will do that automatically.
It starts with us as the adults and us being aware of our own social emotional skills and our triggers and our feelings and emotions and what brain state we're in and making sure that we're our best selves for ourselves but also for our students, because what you give, you get in return. And what you want and what you hope for, that positive energy, if you emulate it, you'll get it back to you.
So the idea of Social Emotional Learning Day, it actually is an international movement. SELday.org put out Social Emotional Learning Day, and March 11th was the day that they chose this year. So we started doing it last year a little bit, and we just kind of sprinkled it to the teachers and staff at the elementary school, and this year we added a few more layers onto that. So I would like to share a few of the highlights and events that were included for Social Emotional Learning Day. We had a digital choice board for students and staff, which included breathing exercises, yoga and meditation, read aloud stories, classroom games and activities that increased student connection, which came from Playworks, which is also our Recess Rocks program that we use. Deep breathing, we had positive quotes read over the morning announcements every day of that week. We had a whole school read aloud story, The Cool Bean, which was purchased. Every book was purchased from our PTO for every classroom so that everyone can enjoy the whole book with the whole school. And we also had enriching activities that extended the story and opportunities for discussion. We had a virtual calming room. We had SEL books that were selected and on display in our library media center so students can read through the books and check them out and share them with their families. We had an SEL at-home packet, and the packet was filled with activities to encourage and build connections between home and school, and also for the students to connect social emotional learning that they learned in the school with home. So we had like a Kama-Lama scavenger hunt. We had breathing boards, which followed the deep breathing that we do and we teach in the classrooms, but they can show it to their families at home and do it with their siblings. And anybody else in the community. We also had a monthly SEL calendar, which was created by our SEL subcommittee as part of our mental health and awareness team. Additionally, classes extended SEL activities and made calming jars. They did yoga outside. They played a lot of different types of games and made connections just with peer-to-peer, but also teacher-to-peer. A huge thank you goes to our SEL subcommittee for all their help planning and coordinating, as well as the PTO for donating the books, The Cool Bean, to every classroom, and the entire school family for their collaboration and participation in the amazing event. We had students in second grade make posters to kind of showcase and get awareness during the week before, and they're like, SEL Day's coming up, yeah, there's a lot of hype around it. And just to see the teachers and all the staff, I mean, the nurse asked for breathing boards for kids who went into the nurse's office, and they were using the digital choice board in every classroom, so it was really a nice collaborative effort on all ends. I also wanted to highlight a few things that are coming for SEL, as well as some highlights that we just started. One highlight that I'd like to share is that there was a podcast that was recommended from our equity and diversity team that I've been doing with the students, kindergarten through second grade, but I also have been sharing with third and fourth grades when I work in those classrooms. And it comes from WBUR, and they're folktales written by parents, but it's for students, and the folktales come from around the world. And they have themes such as friendship, persistence, generosity, and more. And at first I was a little nervous doing a podcast, which is like 20 minutes with kindergarten, but they absolutely loved it. Like they sat, I give them a coloring activity to go along with it, because I said we got to keep our bodies busy while our brains are learning. But they were really intrigued by it, and they really tuned in, and the collaborative discussion, there's a break in between that we do, and then a collaborative discussion at the end of what do you think that message is? What do you think, the authors are trying to teach you? Spot on. And it's really cool to hear them share what they think is going to happen in the middle, and how it ties into what really happened in the end and how it made them feel, and also thinking about their own decision making, their own feelings, their own friendships, and really making that personal for themselves as we discuss that. Another thing that we're in the process of planning for activities is next month in May is Mental Health and Awareness Month. So we're working on doing a Mental Health and Awareness Week. I've also reached out to the high school and the middle school to see what we're doing and seeing if there's a way we can connect and collaborate. So stay tuned for those activities. We're also creating a video of what social emotional learning looks like in Narragansett. The commissioner had asked us to make another video, and she's possibly going to highlight it for her next month, the State of Education address. So we're working really hard to create the video, and it was really important in thinking about and planning the video, showcasing not only the work that I do, because it's not just me, it's the work of the kids, it's the work of the families, administration, and the staff as a whole. at the elementary school, but also at the middle school and the high school. I mean, this is going to carry on for years to come, and it's going to trickle into the homes if it hasn't already, right? That's the main goal for us. So stay tuned for more on that. We'll share the video as well once we finish it, hopefully within our May deadline. So I just wanted to share just a little snippet of, some of you might be thinking like, so what is life like as an SEL coordinator being Karen Festa? So I wanted to share a little bit about what it's like for me, cruising down the halls with my cart. You probably saw it in the video, singing and dancing with my little dancing cans. But what it looks like is teaching daily lessons in the classroom and working with students to build upon the conscious discipline skills and strategies that support self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, decision-making, and relationship skills. Every lesson is designed as a brain smart start, ritual, and routine. So my schedule for them, I have a visual schedule, always stays the same. It's the activities and the songs and the stories and the lessons that are different. But everything follows that routine from preschool all the way through 4th grade, so they know what to expect. It's also connecting with families to support and carry over home to school and school to home. It's working closely with classroom teachers, coaching them on the development of classroom structures, rituals and routines, student support and behavior management, and peer relationships. It's also weekly meetings with the principal, the dean of students, our school psychologist, our social worker to discuss student SEL needs and supports. It's participation in the RIDE SEL Community Action Committee, a member of the Narragansett Health and Wellness Committee, and the SEL Subcommittee. It's also planning and coordination of SEL-based school-wide events, bulletin boards, family letters, examples such as SEL Day and Mental Health Awareness Month. And next week, it's presenting a PD for our NSS K-12 induction team. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions?
Alex?
Oh, well, I was
Did
just...
you have a question?
Oh, no. I was just going to make a comment, but
Sure.
if you want to lead it off.
No, you can
Okay.
go first.
Well, I just want to say, if I was wearing a hat, my hat would be off to you. I mean, absolutely well summarized and just an incredible presentation, and what a wonderful asset you are to our district and to the Health and Wellness Committee. I don't even have to summarize anything in regards to the mental health awareness because of the beautiful job that you've done already here for us. And just really job well done all around to you and the team, the family, the students. It was really wonderful to see that video. It brought me back to the early days a little bit there, walking the halls, and really just we are so thankful to have you in our district and to put in all of the work. It's recognized, it's clearly visual here, and just thank you for all of the hard work that you continue to do for us.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And just to note, I get by with a little help from my friends and school family. It's a collaborative effort. Thank you.
Diane?
Just a quick question. The video that you showed was wonderful. What's going to come of that? Will that be on the RIDE website?
Yeah,
The
it was
new one?
published on their Facebook page and their website. They were supposed to put out a YouTube link. I'm not sure if that went through yet, but I do know it was put out on Facebook, Twitter, and as well as the RIDE website. The video that we're working on for the Commissioner's State of Education address, I'm going to share it with her once it's finished, and then I'm just going to kind of let them decide what they want to do with it and how they would like to use it. But we're going to make sure we share it with our NSS community as well.
I had a question for Pete. So this is awesome that we had the commissioner visit. So how did that come to be? Did we have to reach out and invite her, or did we get selected? Can you tell us how that happened?
Sure. Well, Karen took the bull by the horns, and so and in her advocacy for SEL and SEL Day, Karen actually reached out to the governor and to the commissioner. Correct?
Yes.
And they took her up on her offer to come visit, and so we were all able to be there with her, which was really great, actually. And RIDE visited again last week around RIDEcast, so they've been down to Narragansett Elementary quite a bit.
Can I just add, one of the reasons why I had kind of pushed for that is that in being part of our RIDE, the Department of Ed SEL Community in Action, it's a small but lovely group, but I'm always trying to grow our team for the state of Rhode Island and saying, is there anybody else doing this or anybody else interested in that? And really trying to collaborate with more people across the state of Rhode Island. So I thought, what better push than to ask the governor to write a proclamation? And I did propose a proclamation. I didn't expect it to go through and was pleasantly surprised. So I was glad for their support and everybody on board.
Yeah, so I also want to thank you, Peter, for prioritizing social emotional learning in this district. We know the research is compelling and it's so pronounced today more than just a couple of years ago, probably because of what we've all been through the last few years, but it's so critical. As a parent in the district, I'm appreciative of that priority. I haven't really met you before, and I think you're brilliant and wonderful, and all the things that you're doing are inspiring and hopeful. So I just wanted to share that, and I had a question for you.
Yeah.
You mentioned the SEL subcommittee. Can you talk a little bit about the makeup of that committee?
So as part of the Health and Wellness Committee, we have subcommittees. So SEL kind of falls a little bit under the mental health and awareness. We also have physical education, and I'm sure Alex can speak to that because he's the chair of the committee, but so it kind of falls under that. So in terms of the SEL subcommittee, there's a group of teachers and support staff at the elementary school that we get together weekly, if not bi-weekly, and that's kind of a think tank for, what can we do to support SEL, not only in our school, but in our district, and then supporting the families and connecting that with the students and staff. So it's kind of like I always say it's a group effort, and then it takes a lot of work on our part to share that with the staff and share that with administration and the other schools, and really trying to connect all the dots and make sure everybody has the opportunity to be a part of it, and like I said, can grow from it. That's the hope.
Yeah, so one more question.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit then of your vision of how this is going to expand across the district?
Yeah, so I was just speaking with Dr. Denton before about, what is that going to look like in the middle school, and what are some possible recommendations, and carrying over the conscious discipline skills and strategies that they've learned at the elementary school. And I was hoping that I could meet with Emily Chartier to discuss further some next steps, thinking about, the kids that are moving on are going to have these, and what can we do to kind of continue that and keep that going? And what will that look like, sound like, and feel like? That's to be determined, but we've already got the ball rolling and the gears are turning, and I'm ready to support in any way I can. Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? Right. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you. And thank you very much for your support and advocacy as well. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
All right, so we're moving on to oral reports. Is there anyone from the school committee that has a report to give? Alex, you're up.
Oh, my turn already. Well, I just, again, want to thank all of the hard work that went into SEL Day. I don't even have to go into it because it was so well presented and thorough, so I'll move on from that. The Health and Wellness Committee met on April 7th, and we welcomed a new member, Laura Whaley, to the committee. She is the new outreach coordinator for South County Health, and it was really great getting to welcome her to the team. At the Narragansett Elementary School, we were trying to get classrooms out to the school garden as the weather is warming up and COVID restrictions have gone down. We're trying to, get kids outdoors and try to build that connection and to the outdoors as well. And just a quick overview. Renee Martin has provided a summary for me to deliver. She delivered 3 vaping and marijuana presentations in the high school auditorium to all 9th, 10th, and 11th graders separately, and did a presentation about opioids and the opioid crisis, drawing parallels with what is happening presently in the vape and marijuana industries for the 12th grade. By now, all 7th graders and half, if not all, 8th graders have had the Teenage Brain presentation during health class. This is a talk about brain development to help them understand why it is so important to not expose themselves to substances at their vulnerable stage. Half, if not all, of 8th graders have gotten the vaping and marijuana talk during health class. The other half will get it in May. All 9th and 10th graders had a full week educational series called Media Ready, which teaches students to dissect advertising to understand the overt and implied messages that they are being sent and why they are being targeted by the vaping and marijuana industry, money, as an example. And she also completed a professional development for all new staff in the district on heart math emotional regulation strategies to manage stress and anxiety, with 4 weekly follow-up emails, including resources and recordings for staff to use to practice techniques. And in addition to the Health and Wellness Committee, I am also a member of the Schools Diversity Committee and have also participated in some of the discussions on the Town IDEA Committee. And we are now, there is now a liaison from the Town IDEA Committee who is also a parent to students in the district who is coming to the schools diversity team meetings, and it's a kind of a way for us to work with the town and on the schools level, all in collaboration in one direction and unity. And we're lucky to have her and that participation.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have any reports to give? Diane?
Just a short one. I just wanted to take a moment and congratulate our Director of Student Services on earning her doctorate, Dr. Denton. And also thank her and Lauren for getting out the unified basketball schedule to us. And I had the opportunity to go to a middle school game and a high school game, and they really were wonderful, like Melissa said. It was fun to see the kids competing and having such a good time doing it.
All right, thank you. All right, so we are on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Cummings?
Great. Thank you, Tammy. So Diane stole my thunder. I was going to lead with Dr. Denton, but that's okay. So congratulations. I know how much work goes into that process, and Melissa not only achieved that great goal, but she was also chosen as the commencement speaker and so it's quite an honor. And so she did an absolutely terrific job. And we're the beneficiaries of all her new knowledge. So that's really great. Just a couple of highlights. So I was able to go to the elementary play last evening, Annie. They did tremendous work on that. It was so well done. And so the kids worked hard and battled COVID and all sorts of different things to get that off the ground. So it was really a great sign that things are gradually getting back to normal. We also had a big milestone this week. So we had our first student pass his apprenticeship exam through our plumbing program. So our first cohort of students are now seniors. So he has passed his apprenticeship exam. It's the first student to take it. He got a 92, I believe. And so that was really a great job and a credit to all of the hard work by the high school that has gone into making that happen. 94, sorry, Dan. So that is also really exciting. So on the more mundane, we continue to work through the budget process. And so the town is going through their workshops. We stay in communication with them. So I don't really have any updates on budget tonight. And we are in the process of starting our hiring. And so, we have started for our open positions. We have gone through the job placement process internally and now are beginning the hiring process and are really encouraged. We're getting some nice applicants for some hard to fill positions. And so that's really great. And obviously, and it's on the agenda tonight, we'll go through the peer school principal search as well in just a little bit.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Cummings? All right, thank you. So we're moving on to consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve consent agenda items CA1A, CA2A, CA2B, and CA2C?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We're on to the budget report. Karen?
Expenditures for the 9 months ended March 31st total $21,091,990. That's 63.51% of our budget. Expenditures and encumbrances total $30,168,708, and that's 90.84% of our budget.
Thank you. Any questions for Karen? All right, thanks, Karen.
You know, Tammy, one thing that I did forget to mention, that if people do want to donate to I thought of squirreling away. And so if people do want to donate to Frank's Scholarship Fund, so the Frank White Scholarship Fund, you can send it to the school department, 25 Fifth Avenue, Narragansett, Rhode Island, 02882, and just write the memo on your check for the Frank White Scholarship Fund. So we've received a lot of donations for that, and we're really honored to honor him.
Thank you, Pete. All right, so we're on to school committee business, and I'm wondering if someone wants to make a motion to change the order of one of the items?
So moved, and I suggest we reverse item 1 and item 2.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. So we're on to school committee business, but we're going to start with item number 2. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the contract for the 2022 to 2025 Narragansett Pier Middle School principal effective July 1, 2022?
So moved.
Discussion? Pete, is there anything you'd like to say before we take our vote?
Oh, yes. So,
Okay.
Again, we've gone through a rigorous search process. So we had students and faculty and parents on our search committee. We go through several rounds. Our first round is really a screening round. Then we go through a round where people have to show their expertise in leading a school. So they have to go through a case study and do a mock teacher observation and really work with our admin team through a series of problem sets and questions to show that they're able to run a school. And then they have to meet with the central office staff around policy and budget and special education. We had a very strong field of applicants. So we had around 28 very strong applicants. Lots of sitting principals actually applied. And then we did interview 8. We brought 4 finalists forward. And I am pleased to announce that Colleen Johnson, who is here with us tonight, is our Pier Middle School recommended principal. And so Colleen is already with us. She is our high school assistant principal. She has extensive experience working with middle-level students. So she was the assistant principal of Scituate High School and middle school, so worked with both middle and high school students. Colleen was a mathematics teacher, and holds degrees from Providence College as well as URI. So we think that she's going to bring, great collaborative leadership and really build on the wonderful work that Marianne has done, and Marianne will pass the baton. We do have a very strong transition process and entry plan kind of designed for the two of them to work through. And as Colleen gets on board, we'll have plenty of supports. And I know when we met with the Pier School staff this afternoon, they were ecstatic that Colleen had gotten the position.
So before we take our vote, any other comments or questions? I'm going to save my comments for after the vote, but anything before we take our vote from the school committee? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0, so congratulations, Colleen. And my only comment is just, we're really happy to have an internal candidate shift and move up. And Dr. Cummings has explained to us the very rigorous interview process. So the fact that you came through, as the #1 recommendation, it's hard as an internal candidate because you really, you have to really kind of prove yourself to like the existing staff and the other stakeholders and stuff. So I'm very excited, happy this is happening. Sorry, Dan. But we're really, really excited, and I'm glad that you could come tonight. Would you like to say a few words?
So I just want to start by thanking all the nice words that I've heard from both the committee, Dr. Cummings, and, even some of the things that have been said when we did introduce myself at the middle school. I'm truly ecstatic to start myself. The work that is done in Narragansett is very exciting to me. It's amazing work that you all do as a community. Everybody is so together and all in for the students, and that's really what I'm about. So I'm really happy to be in this district, and I'm really happy to move forward. I say the same thing, poor Dan. I've, loved working at the high school as well. This is just a great opportunity to kind of get back into the middle school roots that I also love so much. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're going to go back to item number,
Wait, you
Oh.
voted, right? Yeah, sorry.
yep.
Yep.
Oh, yes, any other comments, Josh?
So raising children is hard. Middle school is really complicated. And Marianne, I have to thank you for your partnership as a parent who, is trying to navigate that first child through the complications of middle school. And your partnership and your guidance as a parent and as an educator is inspiring and well-received and will forever be a part of us and our family. And I just want to thank you for that. Thanks.
We'll get to talk more about Marianne because we honor our retirees at an upcoming school committee meeting too, so we'll get a... You better. You won't get your pen. No.
And despite Mary Ann's best efforts, we are insisting on honoring her as she goes through. So, so more to come.
And if she doesn't get her pen, she can't send us postcards from all the trips.
All right, so let's go back to business item number 1. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to accept updates made to the 2022-2023 school calendar?
So moved.
Discussion. So I'll try to kind of give a recap here. So we spent 2 months discussing the school calendar for next year, and I know that we had really hoped to align with some other area districts, especially districts where we share students that are tuitioning in or we're tuitioning kids out. So Peter, I'm going to ask you to kind of give us an update on that. And so I'll probably just turn things over to you, Pete, to kind of, we had a little shift there, and at the last meeting, we decided to put a survey out to students and staff, and Pete, I'll let you kind of give the soundbite on that. So we'll hear from Pete. We'll do a nice, concise recap of what's kind of happened with the other districts that we tried to align with, the survey results, and then we've got 2 versions, and we will pick one tonight, take a formal vote on it, and we've got to move forward. So over to you, Pete, for a recap
All
and the
right.
survey results.
Great. I think you just recapped very nicely, so I won't repeat kind of what you just did. But what I will say is, right now we do not North Kingstown. We don't have their calendar yet, and our initial discussions were with North Kingstown and Jamestown, and trying to align the 3 towns. So I'm not quite sure where that is. And Lauren, we haven't received Jamestown's calendar yet either. Correct? Yeah, just a draft. And so, given those inputs, I think, it is reasonable, right, to revisit our early discussion that was based on a different set of circumstances. To my knowledge, the only district so far in the region that has approved a shorter February vacation is Westerly. Really the debate I would put out to you is the days have to come from somewhere. Right? Mm-hmm. And so, one of the parameters that the committee gave was to start after Labor Day, right? So have the students start after Labor Day. So to make up for starting after Labor Day, which is a little bit later this year, In order to get out in the early part of June, you do need to find those days somewhere, and that would be the reason to shorten the February vacation. The counter proposal to that is to, follow the statewide calendar, which does have a full February and April vacation, with the addition of the Juneteenth holiday. That does push the end of school, to the end of June, to June 22nd. I would tell you that it is likely we will have either storm or snow days, and it would be likely that school would push into the following week until the week of the 26th. That also holds true for the shortened vacation version, right, where school would end on the 16th. However, if you did have some snow days, that would push into the week of the 20th because of the Juneteenth holiday. So, in the survey that we put out, it was, again, that was mostly answered by parents and by staff and wasn't answered a lot by students. So about 75% of the answers were from parents, about 25%, 23% were from staff, and 2% from students. And you're looking at, again, of a district of about 1,200 kids, you had, about 500 or so answer a little bit more than that. So you had pretty good response rate. And you were at 53.5% of people want a full February vacation, and 46.5% of people would want a shorter vacation. So whereas we've always been 50-50, this is still, it's still pretty close to 50-50, slightly skewed. So again, I would tell you from a learning standpoint, certainly, a short or long February vacation, we don't get a lot of those late June days. And so there are, equal arguments to be made, quite honestly, for having a February break and giving a little bit of a breather within that time, and for kind of making the most of your learning time, especially during that winter. So sorry not to have a strong recommendation one way or the other, all right? But, what I would say is there are valid arguments on both parts. I would tell you there is some benefit to aligning to the statewide calendar, right, which is the full February break. And so, if I were to make a recommendation, because our alignment with Jamestown and North Kingstown is not as assured as it had been previously, we do want to try to align with regional towns as best we can, particularly because of the number of CTE kids that are coming, right? And should North Kingstown align with with the statewide calendar, we do draw a number of kids from North Kingstown and from South Kingstown as well. And I do understand South Kingstown is going to align with the statewide calendar.
So I wanted to jump in. So again, don't really have any strong personal preference. Obviously don't work in town, and my kids are all grown up. They're not in the schools anymore, so no personal stake either way. So this, again, hard decision. I wish the survey was more like 65 or 70%, but came out kind of as we predicted. A little bit stronger in favor of the full February. So we've got 53% in favor of the full February, 46% in favor of the shortened. So, I definitely want to hear from the rest of the committee. I am fine with option 2, which is the full February break, for a lot of the reasons that Pete said. This would align with the state calendar. So any districts that are torn and then they just land with the state calendar, it's going to be the full February. We've got lots of CTE kids coming in from many different towns. The survey result does swing in that way, 53% over 46%. Having the full February break off, we don't have to worry so much about any staffing shortages, where if we, go back to the 2 days and then people have young children in another district, teachers that work here, and then they have to take personal days, we could end up with some sub shortages. So I do worry about that. I think the full February is a nice social emotional mental break, clean the schools, and, so for those reasons, I'm more in favor of the full February. Also working in a district where our last day is June 27th this year, not excited about that. So that, that doesn't feel good. But, again, you got to land somewhere. So my vote is for full February break, but I defer to the committee because don't have a personal stake either way. So I'm going to open it up to comments from the school committee. If you can kind of say which version you're leaning more toward and why, if you choose to, that would be great.
I can.
Josh?
I know last time we were all supportive of the first schedule of the shortened break, but I do think with the lack of certainty from the neighboring districts, and just looking ahead too, I think it would be interesting to break down the geography of where these students are coming from in all the CTE programs. I know that we're trying to align to our most local next door neighbor or neighbors, but if we look at the geography of where our students are coming from, it would make sense with the lack of certainty of our neighboring district to go with the full week, and I would fully support that. I think it's probably the right move to make.
Yeah, and, I would say, Lauren did just check. I think North Kingstown is moving towards the short break, so I think that's on their agenda. However, what I would also say is, again, I don't think North Kingstown students that are attending Narragansett are going to complain about coming to school, not coming to school while, other people are. And, the second piece I would say is, especially in kind of some more uncertain times, right? While I appreciate and typically would recommend to you the shorter break to get out, supporting the efforts of a coordinated statewide calendar, I think makes sense given the disruption in the last couple of years.
Hey, can I ask one question? You had referenced snow day cancellations running into that following week. There will be no distance learning option for days next year?
There will be, right? But if you remember our policy,
It's
what
four.
we said, I believe three,
Three, okay.
right? Either 3 or 4. And one of the things I really worry about are the storm days in the
Right.
fall. And so what happens is that we can't do a distance learning day if there's widespread power outages. And over the last couple of years, we've had at least 2 and sometimes 3 typically power outage days that happen in typically October and November when some of those powerful fall storms come through. And so I do agree that we will get some of the distance learning days in for some of those snow days where it might snow in the morning, make driving dangerous, but it's a recoverable day. But unfortunately, weather systems are getting more powerful every year, and we are having more power outages.
Yeah, and we know how challenging it is towards the end of June. So I know that's one thing we're sacrificing, attendance as well as engagement, but I think what you have makes sense.
Yeah, to follow up on that, June, when you look at the shortened vacation week, you have potentially 0 days past the first 2 weeks. And so that's more quality days of education for the rest of the year. But if you don't, you're looking at minimum 3, possibly another week and a half, which in that case, you have a lot of poor education days, which is why I was initially supporting the shortened break. And, but honestly, consistency is what usually when you have a calendar, consistency with other areas is what we want as the most. And the statewide says a week. So I'm definitely leaning towards the full break now at this point.
First of all, I just want to thank you, Lauren and Pete, for putting this survey together. Even though it's not a huge majority, it is a majority, and that is something to be said. Also appreciate all the parents, staff, and the few students who did participate in the survey, because it really helps to illustrate where your voice is coming from. I also echo a lot of the comments that have already been made on the preference for a longer February vacation under the circumstances. Also what Tammy said, along the mental health of our students and staff. March, everyone always talks about the dreaded month of March. I think the full February vacation with the recommendation by RIDE is a great move for our district moving forward, at least under these circumstances, because as you echoed before, at the end of the month of June, and not necessarily a lot of gains there, but March, there certainly is a lot to be said there, and my personal opinion is in order to really help to our students and staff to recover from January exams, February, that full week really does go a long way. And I think it really is appreciated. And again, really appreciate the survey results. And I would support version 2, full February vacation.
Couple more comments, just for the folks back at home. This year is also a very tough year because we have Election Day, and we don't have primary day. We do have primary day, so that's 2 other days which push us out farther. Which is, when you're looking at shortening vacation, that was another thing. And did we mention June 16th? I'm sorry, June 19th. So we did, okay, that's it. So this year, there's quite a few more days that we were required to take off that change our schedule, so.
Diane, any comments?
Just one brief one. Like Tammy, I don't have a strong preference one way or the other, so I would lean to go with our survey results and for that reason, but also to give our Director of Operations plenty of time to do a more in-depth cleaning that they usually do on vacations. And so I think that would take some pressure off him and give him the time he needs. So for those 2 reasons, I would lean toward the full week.
Thank you. So Diane, would you like to make kind of an amended specific motion about, you want to make a motion to approve version 2 with like a full February? Because right now, the motion that's on the floor is a little vague. It's just to accept updates. So do you want to, not quite sure the proper way to do it, if you...
The proper way would be, we'd have to have a vote to rescind the prior motion where we voted for the shortened vacation, and then a new motion for the full week.
I can make a motion to rescind the prior recommendation.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then you want me to make I can make a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to accept the updates to version 2 of the school calendar for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second. With the full February break.
With the full February break.
Second.
Any other final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
We should do the polling every year, especially since it's still, unless it becomes 70-40 next year or something. Not 70-30.
We are happy to do so.
Especially, I don't know, this year it was like only 8 students. Not that I expected more students. I don't know. Still thank you for pulling it together.
All right. Thank you. All right, so on to item number 3. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and the director of finance to approve the purchase of My Perspectives ELA materials for grade 8 for a total amount of $15,088.60 from Savis?
So moved.
Discussion? Hi, Gail.
Hello. So I'm here just to kind of give you a little update of where we are. As you know, we are required to select materials for ELA, math and science that are considered to be in the green through the Ed Reports ratings, and we are quickly getting there to having all of our materials be in those categories. So just to kind of review what our adoption process is for our curriculum materials, we always convene a committee which has administrators, coaches, and teachers on the committee. We look at the materials that are on Ed Reports. We winnow it down to some of the curriculum vendors. We gather the actual physical materials and do a physical materials review. We have vendor presentations. And then we also do a pilot. And if the students are in middle or high school, we get their input about the materials as well. So for this presentation tonight, the materials that we're looking at include math materials for grades 2 through 4. So as you know, we already use the Savas product in grades 5 through 6, and we use Bridges in pre-K through 1. So what we're trying to do is now have the grades 2 through 4 either go with the lower level students in Bridges or the higher level students in Savas. So those are the two materials that we looked at. On this committee, we had the math coaches and myself and the teachers in the elementary school either piloted the materials or the math coaches went in and did a pilot for them and they observed the materials. And the decision was to go with Bridges. So that is what one of the agenda items is for the materials to coordinate with what pre-K and 1 are already using. So what we really liked about Bridges is that, of course, it meets all the standards and it's green for Ed Reports, but it really has some voice and choice into the materials as well and focuses on students' deep understanding of mathematical concepts. For ELA, we had purchased My Perspectives for grades 9 through 12 last year. So we really wanted to look at what grade 8 should be using next year, whether they're going to be following what the rest of the district's doing in K through 7 or go along with what the high school is using. And the decision was to go with grade 8 for the My Perspective. So they'll be going along with what the high school is doing. Once again, we did the entire process as I just explained. They are actually in their piloting right now for grade 8. So the grade 7, 8 teachers who loop are piloting with the grade 7 students right now so that when they go into grade 8 next year, they'll already have experience with materials. And next year will be the first year for grade 8. The following year, we'll do grade 7. So grades 7 through 12 will be My Perspectives. So I just wanted to explain a little bit about the pilot and where we're going, and next month I'll be back with some materials for the high school. Any questions?
I have one. What you just said on the 8 to 12, grades 8 to 12 will be this coming year, and then 7, add 7 the following year.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, what's the reason for not just doing 7 to 12 once? Is
Well,
that too big a chunk, or?
Yeah, that was, the teachers who are looping asked if we could do grade 8 one year and grade 7 the next year because we're going to be doing a whole curriculum academy with them, the pilot. It's just, they were just a little bit concerned about trying to do them both in the same year. So that's why we are just doing grade 8 next year. Yeah.
And then I just had one quick question on the math. You mentioned you were going PK to 4 with Bridges, and then 5 would switch over to Savas. So
Yep.
would that be a smooth transition between those two programs, do you think?
It should be. We went back and forth about what to do with 4th grade, I'll be honest with you, whether we should go with the Savas product or the Bridges. And we just felt that at the elementary level, it was more hands-on, it was more conceptual, that it was just a better fit. So we don't think it will be a huge transition for the students to go from that to the Savas product, but we just felt it would just give them more of what they needed, the foundations, to be successful in middle school.
And they did some very nice work on standards mapping between the two products. And
Yeah.
so one of our worries for Gail and for me was, is there a drop of any spiraling standards between elementary and middle? And so they have mapped that out, and there are a couple that they need to be sure to emphasize more strongly during grade 5, right? Because it is within that bridge from 4 to 5, they don't want to lose anything, right? And so when you're switching products, you're sometimes they're approaching the standards in a little bit a different way. So, our Gail and Linda, our math coach, have done just an outstanding job of mapping those standards and seeing where any potential drops might be.
So we are in really good shape of having our highly qualified materials in way before the deadline. So with all of these purchases now, we will have all of our math, pre-K 12 with the highly qualified materials, and we will have ELA grades 8, 12. And we are right now piloting what we're going to be doing for K through 6 to make sure that we are on that list. So we're in really good shape. That's our last piece for ELA and math.
And just to build on what Gail is saying, so we do still use Teachers College Reading and Writing Workshop, K through 6. We've had great success with it. You've heard my view of the Seeding the Power to Ed reports on that before. They are, the TC is looking to make some adjustments. We don't know where that will end up, right? And so we are really looking to see what our next steps will be. As we are reviewing the materials, we don't find really too many of them to be as strong as what we're finding in our outcomes with the Readers and Writers Workshop, especially with the way that we are able to supplement with some of the phonics instruction. And so we are looking at what our options are.
So right now, we actually have a committee that has middle school and elementary school teachers, coaches, myself, the administration, and we have already done a materials review, and we've had the vendor presentations. We have 4 that we're looking at strongly. We're going to meet to winnow it down to 2, so that if the Teachers College materials do not get in the green by August, we'll start the pilot up for those 2 that we've selected now next year, so we can do a nice pilot and then get ourselves ready, if we need to switch materials for the following year.
Or, as we've told Lisa, if you're 75% proficient in ELA, you don't have to switch materials.
Right. No pressure.
It's only about a 15-point jump. No pressure.
Okay, any questions? Any other questions?
No. So we've got a motion on the floor just for the ELA materials, and we'll do the math one separate.
I just
So,
have a quick question.
Sure, yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Just 2 quick questions. I just was wondering what the role of this additional literacy professional that you've quoted on here, like what that role looks like.
Oh, the professional development?
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just the terminology on here that I was confused about. And then I noticed that this is a 2017 version that we're approving. Is that the latest edition of my perspectives?
That is the latest edition right now, but they are revising it in 2024. So we will have that, that edition come to us when it is revised. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about the ELA resources? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. If you just want to hang on there, we'll read the math motion next. So the next item is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and the director of finance and administration to approve the purchase of Bridges math materials for grades 2, 3, and 4 for a total amount of $16,638.36 from the Math Learning Center?
So moved.
Discussion? Any other questions or comments at all about the math materials for Gail or for Peter? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Gail.
Great, thank you.
And thank you to all the teachers and staff members for their hard work on those committees, so thank you. All right, on to item number 5. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the updated district technology plan for 2022 through 2025 school year?
So moved.
Discussion. Two hats tonight, cameraman and presenter. Thank you. Welcome.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to present our new district technology plan. Before I begin, I definitely want to thank the staff in my department as well as the district technology committee members. They've both put a lot of work into this. As you know, we're required to have a district technology plan on file for our E-rate funding, which is our federal funding that we subsidize some of our internet and some of our technology hardware purchases. But it's also great to have the plan to have a vision for technology in our district. The way we kind of came up with this plan is our tech department met every week for 6 months and kind of put our ideas on paper, wordsmith, got drafts out to the technology committee, took input from that, made revisions, and after about 6 months of work, came up with this plan. We presented it to the full district technology committee about a month and a half ago, and they all approved it. As you can see, I know you have both the full plan and the copy of the slides, but as you can see, we have we're well represented in many areas. As far as our members, our members are a tech department, we have our district technology integration coach, a curriculum director, a building principal, a dean of students, communication specialist, 2 school committee members, Alex and Justin, library media specialists, 5 teachers, 3 parents, and 2 students on the committee. So pretty much our whole school community is represented. I'm not going to go into the detail because it's a pretty comprehensive plan. It's about 11 pages, many goals and strategies. So I'm just going to kind of highlight the 6 main goals, and those are curriculum, instruction, and assessment, robust infrastructure, data privacy, community partnership, personalized professional learning, budget and resources, and the newest goal that we've added is the digital equity goal. So I'm just going to highlight 1 or 2, 3 items in each goal just so everyone can get an idea of what's included in the plan. One of the major things that we've worked on is streamlining a learning management system for our students. So currently we use PowerSchool Learning grades 5 through 12. PowerSchool Learning is going end of life in September, so this year we have a big transition. We're transitioning from PowerSchool Learning to Schoology. That will affect every student and staff member in grades 5 through 12. We just selected our Schoology Learning lead teachers last week, and we have already begun planning. We have 2 training days coming up on May 10th and May 11th, as well as 10 more hours to complete prior to the end of the school year. And it's, it kind of brings learning into one place and it standardizes it throughout the grades. How they're accessing things in 5th grade is how they're going to access things in 12th grade. So we get them accustomed to what they're using and how they're accessing it, and it just makes it seamless for teachers and staff. If staff move from building to building, they already know the systems. And this is a part that Vanessa Miller, our district technology integration coach, has helped with, is kind of maintaining a list not only that are approved by our student data privacy consortium, but also tools that make sense in our district for our students and our staff. So that's constantly updated. And something else that we're going to try to really do is, since the past 4 or 5 years, there have been so many new Jamestown kids and CTE students coming in. We really want to streamline their onboarding to make it easy for them. And that probably this year for the first time is going to include a summer morning where they'll have the opportunity to come in on a summer morning to get their laptop, to sign into their systems, to make sure they get a little familiar with what they're going to be doing so that they're not walking in first day of school not knowing how to access things and, kind of being a step behind. So that's one of the things we're going to try this coming summer. Robust infrastructure, this is something that we always have to stay on top of. As I mentioned at the budget meetings, we're working on installing a secondary backup line in case anything were to happen to our main line, and to accommodate E-rates requirements as far as not putting certain stuff on their subsidized internet lines. Lauren does a great job with the webpage, and our plan is every 3 years we do a full redesign of the website to keep it updated and modern and easy to access for students, staff, and parents. One thing that will be coming up in a couple of years is a new phone system. So the current phone system we have is about 20 years old. We did an upgrade about 12 years ago, but it wasn't like a rip and replace. It was kind of just minor upgrades. And then about 7 years ago, we did a voicemail upgrade to kind of get us far. But within the next year or two, we're going to need a full new phone system. That'll be full voice over IP. Right now, we're running a hybrid, some analog, some digital, and some voice over IP, but we really need to update that. So that'll be coming in a year or two. And then, the continuing of the devices for the students. We have a great, and thank you for all your support, we've set up a great cycle as far as when students get devices, how long they keep them, and we're able to project costs as long as we know enrollment numbers. Data privacy, this is something that, and I've talked to Karen a lot about, is the cybersecurity insurance piece of it. We're not sure what the trust is going to do with our cybersecurity insurance, but it's something that, it's forcing us to look at some of these things as far as protecting our organization. And we've already started with some of this, as you all know. We deployed two-factor authentication, and this was an item that is a change in the plan that Alex brought to my attention. The other thing I forgot to mention is we did, originally when we had our plan, we had everything kind of laid out as far as strategy. We didn't break them up by year, because a lot of our plan is things that we do yearly, but there are also things that we kind of should look at. This is a year 1 project, this is a year 2 project, this is a year 3 project. So in our plan, we did separate that out as far as yearly items and projects that we foresee in year 1 of the plan, year 2 of the plan, year 3. And one of them is a continuity and disaster recovery plan. We have an informal plan, but it's just not a documented full plan. So we actually decided to move that up into year 1, because if cybersecurity insurance is going to require it, we're going to want to do that sooner rather than later. We will continue, vetting our software, working with the Student Data Privacy Consortium as far as keeping student data as private as we can. And another one is continuing to fish test our staff. We actually did our first fish testing this week, and results were mixed. You know what I mean? You'd hope no one would fall for it, but people do. And so now it's not about calling anyone out. It's not about targeting people. It's more providing us with the information as far as what they clicked on, what enticed them to do it, what did they see that wasn't, and the company that we work with will provide some videos and formal training for our staff on that. Community partnerships, this is an important one, and it just continues to grow with CTE, with all of our organizations. So we continue the computer science relationship with Epic Games, Cisco networking with RPI, computer science with URI, and then obviously all of the local PTOs, Rhode Island Society of Technology Educators, and there's tons of other ones that we subscribe to as far as getting updated information on malware, viruses, things that are out there. Personalized professional learning, this is kind of, I call this the Vanessa Miller goal, because this is pretty much, this is her job. And once again, I want to thank you. This is something we had talked about for 10 years, and she's been in the position for 2 years, and she does wonderful work. Gail and I split her, but she does wonderful work, and she's going to be so vital to this new learning management system. She's so vital to staying on top of the student data privacy, figuring out what teachers are using, getting them vetted. So that's just, another thank you to you for supporting this position. And then based on that, she's able to do some of these professional developments at staff meetings, on district PD days, things that we inside the tech department don't have the knowledge to do because we were never in the classroom, and we don't have the time to do it as well. And the nice thing is she continues to survey the teachers beginning of the end of the year to see what they're doing and how she can better tailor her professional development to all staff. Budget and resources, this is kind of the bread and butter as far as we have to continue to try to staff to support all this technology. It's great having it all, but if someone isn't there to support it, keep it running, if something breaks, to get it going. And I also, continue to thank Roland all the time because he saw the building-based model tech support and how it works. It's not putting in a ticket and waiting days until something gets done. It's someone in the building that can really be impactful for the students and the teachers so they're not waiting around. And then continue to, the cycles that we've built, the Promethean active panel cycles, the laptop cycles, that's just makes it easy for us to budget. And this is our newest goal, and this is a goal that we kind of, I foresee it as being an evolving goal because I don't think there's anyone out there that does a great job or knows all about the digital equity piece. It's easy enough to say we can give every kid a device, we can give every kid internet access, but they also need that next level. So Vanessa's going to kind of head this as well, and we're going to be involved with the Diversity and Equity Committee too and kind of play a role in there and just see where some of these pitfalls are. Where are parents not accessing things that they may be able to? Is it providing some workshops, PD for parents to come in and, have them work with the system so that they become more impactful for their students? So this one is going to be an evolving one. I wish I had more clarity on this, but I think it's going to be one that changes. It's not a static goal. It's going to be one that, is dynamic and changes once we start doing these audits and once we come up with a vision for what this goal really will look like. That's pretty much, a condensed version of it. I mean, like I said, it took a lot of time, a lot of work, and I'm very proud of what we put forward. And, thank you to Alex and Justin for sitting in on the committee as well.
Questions or comments from the committee? Anybody? Diane?
Yeah, I have both.
Sure.
First, I want to compliment you on the plan.
Thank
It's
you.
comprehensive, it's well thought out, and it's very nicely formatted.
Thank you.
The only thing on the formatting that I wanted to ask, if you considered having a column with the person responsible for the achievement of the objective.
Okay,
a
yeah, we
person or
can.
a group.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Most of it falls on, but I think honestly, I think 3 plans ago, so about 12 years ago, I think we did have that, and I can't remember why we removed it, but I'm happy to discuss that with the team and put that back in there, definitely.
And my question is, on goals 1 through 5, you identify year 1, year 2, and
Yep.
then yearly. But is there not specific goals for year 3 to be put in there, or is it too far out?
It's
to
too
do it?
far. I mean, technology is constantly evolving and it changes so quickly. Something that we foresee that could be there in 3 years could be obsolete in year 3. So we kind of leave that open. And the yearly stuff takes a lot of our time. That's stuff that's the day-to-day, month-to-month that takes place. We try to pick those big year 1, year 2 as kind of the bigger projects. So I know things will come up. It's just not formal in there. And what we've done in the past too is we've always had this 3-year plan, and we always seem to extend it a 4th year and then do a brand new plan because things come up that we just don't foresee. So I think that's why there's no formal items for year 3.
So the funding sources won't nick you at all for not having year 3 identified in goals?
No, because there's no, there's no structure for them. The plan our previous plan didn't have any of those years, and it was perfectly fine. It was just a suggestion from a committee member, a district tech committee member, and it was actually a parent, and it was a great suggestion.
And then just real quickly, on your objective 2.4, I was really glad to see that you're going to be very involved with the new technology in the auditorium.
Yes,
So I was really happy to see that. And on 2.18, you do such a nice job of defining all the acronyms, but there was one that wasn't defined. It's NVR, and I was curious what that meant.
Oh, network video recorder. So that's for our security cameras. This is where I work in collaboration with Steve Gormley. We've mounted, and this is something like one of those things that's not in the plan, but since Steve got here, when Steve got here, we started with 12 cameras. And since then, we now have 122 cameras in our district, and not one camera was mounted by an outside person. We wired everything. We mounted them all ourselves. We worked in collaboration with Matt, the electrician. We installed the network video recorders. We set up all the networking on it. So that's what NVR is. And that's actually something we've been discussing, because that's going to come up for a replacement in a couple of years as well.
And then just one more thing. You mentioned Roland's name.
Yes.
And I noticed on the invoice, they're still shipping it to Roland.
Some of those, like Dell, there's certain vendors I've asked 1 million times, and they still keep his name there. So.
Well, as long as it doesn't go to URI or
No,
wherever he is
no,
now.
they'll get the bill to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Alex?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you and the rest of the team for putting this very thorough plan together. And honestly, I would be very surprised if it was anything but at this point, anything that you present to this committee.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate the moving up of the continuity and disaster recovery plan. Appreciate that. Also, on the topic of digital equity, I remember we talked about this with the rest of the committee, but what a great opportunity this is for the district. I feel very proud to be working in a district where I feel like we are very far ahead of the game with the one-to-one and CTE programs that we offer here. And I think there's a great opportunity here to really break down and define what digital equity means and then go from there. And I'm also honored to be on the diversity team and feel like maybe that's just a lucky coincidence that I can work with the Digital Technology Committee and kind of bridge the gap there a little bit. So looking forward to working with both committees on that.
And we appreciate your work on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, well, again, thank you to Justin, Alex, especially to you and your full committee. And I like that you have added the, really trying to focus on the summer, so students new to the high school, if they want to come in, I think that's great to offer that.
They're becoming just about 20% of our population, so I think it's really important to make sure that they feel comfortable coming to the district.
Excellent. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then if you want to stand up there for the last item of the night, is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and the director of finance and administration to approve the purchase of 41 Promethean Active Panel Series 70-inch interactive flat panels with a 5-year warranty and 1 full day of on-site training from Whaley Computer Associates for a total of $148,950.
So moved.
Discussion.
So this was my ask, if you remember at the budget workshop, this was my ask. And I said, I think we have a way, and working with Karen and Gail on ESSER 3, we found a way to make this happen. I reached out to 7 vendors, a national contract, and RISD, the Rhode Island Society of Technology Educators, also puts an RFP out for hardware, so we queried all the vendors on there. After everybody, Wally was the cheapest. And this is tying together, it's not 41 just for the high school, for the middle school. It's the 7 that we had planned for those additional CTE plumbing rooms, those additional, as the high school grows in size, those 7. And then it's a full refresh of the middle school at one time. It was 9 years ago, the school committee approved that one-time purchase to do all of the middle school at one time. And we did that. The only problem is now it's all coming to life, and it's older technology. It's not technology that's meant to last these 9 or 10 years like these newer LED panels are. The only thing that we may have to work on to figure out is we've always purchased them in packages of like 10 or 11, and we were able to do all the installs ourselves. 41 at once is a lot, and it's a lot. You know, we work with Steve Gormley and Matt, the electrician, to get it together and get them installed. We may have to later, depending on, the other thing is we're trying to get this order in as soon as we can so that we can get them in the summer, but you know, like anything, there's supply shortage. They're saying we'll get them in July, but I don't know for sure. So we may have to consider some installation for these in the future, but I think the important thing is getting these devices here. And actually next week, we did have one of these boards at the middle school already that we've been demoing with the teachers to make sure that this is the one that they wanted, and they're in full agreement on that. But next week, Steve Gormley and I are going to do a test install in a room to see what it takes and kind of how much time, what repair work to the walls need to be done, and that way we can have a better plan for the installations.
And are they about the same size?
The older ones were a little bit larger because they used short throw projectors and they weren't hard surfaces. And with the short throw projector, it was built in above. So there's definitely 4 big screw holes there. So we just have to figure out what, but some of the rooms at the middle school still have wallpapering. So we're kind of working and figuring out what's going to be the best approach. But we need to do one to see what we're really dealing with in that building.
And have you talked to Pete yet about the training that comes with the bid, about when that would take place? And I know it all depends on when they get in and when they get installed, because you can't have the training until that's done. But have you guys talked about, are you hoping to have that in September on one of those PD days, or?
So we're fortunate in that we do have our 3 PD days before school starts, and then we have put a PD day on primary day, which is also early September. So amongst all of those hours, you know, we will be able to do that training.
And that's where, you know, once again, Vanessa, you know, she's great because she can get into these classrooms, team meetings during the day, and really do trainings with them as well.
Any other questions from the school committee? Alex?
I was just curious as to how many of these boards we currently have at NHS. I see there's only 7 to be installed.
Yeah, I want to say, I'd have to double check my notes, but there's 35 to 40 of them already. We had finished the full refresh of the high school. It's just over these past 3 years with the influx of CTE students, they've had to convert other classrooms and, you know, starting up a new plumbing program that wasn't accounted for. So these are more additional classrooms that were needed. But every classroom at the elementary school and the high school, minus these 7, have been fully outfitted with these boards already.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any communications that anyone from the school committee wants to mention? All right. So we are back here for our next business meeting in May 18th at 7 o'clock. Is there a motion to adjourn at 8:26?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night.